So we're looking at the fundamental updates for October 12, 2025. If you've been following my channel, you understand I drop fundamental updates every single weekend. And I'll also be explaining how the fundamentals for last week affected the market. Make sure to stay tuned. And in case you don't have my WhatsApp contact, I usually give out updates to my students and also to people who have my contact, to people who are in my Telegram channel. Make sure to go through the YouTube subscription, get the contact, join the Telegram channel so you don't miss out on unexpected updates, right? Because last week we had unexpected updates. We had things that shifted the market, like the JPY spike, like the government shutdown, like the tariff announcement, and I'll be explaining all of them in this video, right? I'll also be explaining what we have for this week. So first of all, we had unexpected spike, like you all know, it's on JPY pairs. We could see a very huge bullish ride on JPY pairs when the week opened. You understand? Beginning of the week, you can see GBP JPY had this huge spike to the top. You understand? And there was a huge gap that followed it. Let us look at USD JPY too as well. We could see something like that too as well. A very huge spike to the top and with a gap. I'll explain why this happened. Now, I want you to understand that JPY itself, I told you all that JPY is what is a risk-off currency. Now, during economic uncertainty like the shutdown and all, JPY will get strengthened. So AUD JPY is supposed to be selling, USD JPY is supposed to be selling, right? But what happened? Now they elected a new prime minister, and that prime minister now they elected, he is obviously against rate hike on JPY. Do you understand? Because if we were to see a rate hike on JPY will obviously be bullish, and you'll be seeing AUD JPY selling, GBP JPY selling, right? And AUD economy, the inflation rate is rising, and we are expecting a rate hike. But they elected a new prime minister. Now that prime minister is against anything rate hike. So due to the fact that he's against rate hike, investors have already started pulling out their money from JPY because they know that, oh, since there's a new prime minister, they are not expecting any rate hike. JPY is definitely going to be weak. So investors are already doing well to remove their money very fast from AUD JPY. So that was why Monday morning we saw something like this, because investors have already started withdrawing their money from JPY pairs. I want you to understand that most times is wherever investors put money that the market will give you a huge liquidity, wherever they put money or remove money from, you understand? So it's mostly those their investment that give you a huge spike in the market. And now during risk-off environment, just like the government shutdown, investors also put money on gold. You can see gold, right? They remove their money from risk-on currencies and they put their money on gold. This is just a huge move. I was showing my students, I was showing people in my Telegram channel in the class we had this weekend. You can see this was a very, very huge spike, a huge move on gold. You understand? This is a 1 day time frame and gold have been buying. Why? Because we are in a risk-off environment. I want you to understand that during risk-off environment, gold becomes bullish, dollar becomes bullish as well. Why? Because all these things are called safe haven currencies. Safe haven currencies are currencies that investors are willing to put their money on whenever there's an economic uncertainty, like the government shutdown, like the tariff announcement, you understand, like wars, political events that are unfavorable for the economy. You understand? So these are what investors focus on, and this is where they put their money on in the market. So let's go straight into that, right? So the JPY, I explained why there was a huge gap and the market went all the way in the opposite direction. But all of a sudden, I'll also explain why everything started reversing, right? Why we saw dollar itself at the end of the week, dollar was reversing drastically. Let us look at dollar. Dollar started reversing. Now, I told you that yes, dollar is a risk-off currencies. Is a risk-off currency. So during times of economic uncertainty, like the government shutdown, investors started buying dollar. You understand? So that was why dollar became bullish. Dollar left the bearish trend and became bullish. You get? So that was the reason why we saw this huge move to the upside. Do you get? So now what now happened on Friday? On Friday, Trump announced a 100% tariff on China. And due to the fact this tariff announcement affects inflation rate of dollar instead of dollar as a risk of currency to keep being bullish. Due to the fact that the tariff announcement affects the inflation rate of dollar started selling. You understand? But all other risks of currencies like the JPY became strong. You can see JPY started selling massively, which happened on Friday. You can see USD JPY too started selling massively, right? Because the JPY became strong again because of the tariff announcement. Let us look at stocks. We can see stock. Let's look at S&P 500. You can see stocks also started selling as well. Whenever stocks sell like this, it means that the risk off is actually very, very drastic. You understand? And if that tariff announcement should continue, the stock market will actually keep dropping. Do you understand? It's actually keep dropping. You get? So that is what happened last week. The market focus is on a risk off environment. So the market don't really care about all this data you're seeing here, all these things you're seeing here. The market don't really care about them. Why? Because the market was, following the risk off sentiment, both the government shutdown and both the tariff announcement. Do you get my point? We can also see a huge move on GBP AUD. Now, GBP AUD, I predicted this bullish move, but I entered wrongly. You understand? The market actually took me out before giving us this huge move. My VIP signal members, you know what I'm talking about. You get, but this was a very, very beautiful trade. I know that if I caught, this would have been a huge amount of pips at once. Do you get? But why is there a huge candle like this? This is the daily time frame. Let's go back to the forward time frame and look at it very well. Why is there a huge candle like this? I want you to understand that AUD is a risk on currency. So during times of risk off, AUD becomes weak. So due to the fact that AUD was weak, GBP AUD became bullish because AUD is a risk on currency. You understand? So AUD was weak, GBP became strong, so GBP AUD was bullish. You can also see the same thing for AUD USD. AUD became weak, AUD USD started selling drastically. Why? Because AUD is a risk on currency. Investors are removing their money from the pair AUD and they are putting it on safe haven currencies like the gold, like the dollar, like the JPY. Also, a lot of crypto traders, were shocked by what happened, and I can tell you for a fact this is also due to the tariff announcement. The tariff, 100% tariff on China, implemented this downward spike you're seeing here, and this downward spike was what affected the crypto market. You understand? So I want you to understand that during times of uncertainty, you can see moves like this. During times of risk off, you can see move like this. It just simply means investors are removing their money from, normal currencies and putting it on safe haven currencies. Safe haven currencies are currencies that does well during times of uncertainty, like the JPY, like the dollar, like the like the gold itself, like the CHF. All these things are safe haven currencies. Do you understand? So what do we have for this week? Now, this week I want you to understand that the market might not really be focused on economic data. Why? Because the market team is still on risk off. We are still experiencing a risk off event. If the tariff announcement should continue by beginning of this week, you will still see spikes in the market. What are we expecting? We're expecting that, since we are having government shutdown, the market don't really care about all those data that will be released based on core PPI, CPI, all those news. Market don't really care about that. For dollar, I'm expecting that if the tariff should continue strongly, dollar would be bearish. You understand? If the tariff announcement, that's the tariff news announcement, should continue strongly, dollar would be bearish. And I'll keep my students updated if the tariff is actually hot in the air. I'll keep my students updated. You understand? That is one thing you get as being a student of mine. You never miss out on updates. Before anyone gets it, you get it first. So I'm telling my student that, if the tariff should be hot, I'll tell them, dollar will actually keep selling. But if the tariff is not really important and maybe Trump should call it off, you understand? Because Trump can just easily call it off and continue. If they should call it off and the government shutdown continues, I'm expecting dollar to be bullish. You understand? And sorry about that. That was my alarm. So I'm expecting dollar to be bullish if the tariff announcement should come to an end, and all of a sudden we are now seeing only the government shutdown, because right now we have 2 weeks of sentiments in the air. We have the government shutdown and we have the tariff announcement. The tariff announcement affect the inflation of dollar, so that is why dollar would be bearish. But if the tariff announcement should be over, the investors will only be focused on the government shutdown. And the government shutdown means that what? Oh, since we are not going to be able to be seeing news from the economic indicators, stuff like this, we're not going to be seeing news from economic indicator due to the government shutdown, investors will start buying dollar. Why? Because dollar is a safe haven currency. You understand? But when all this risks off sentiment should clear off, we'll go back into our monetary policy. We'll go back into the normal economic data and be looking at the market based on what we are expecting from the market. Do you get? So I'll be keeping my students updated. In case you want to be part of the students, you know what to do. Text me up and register for the premium training. You get free signals, you get everything you need as a student of mine, and it's not limited training. You forever remain my student until you don't need any help again. You get? That is the benefit of being an ACE FX student. So what will happen to JPY? Now for JPY, if the tariff should continue, JPY pairs will still become bearish. That JPY quoted pairs will be bearish. We mean JPY will be strong, because JPY is a risk off currency. So if the tariff announcement should continue, we'll see JPY selling off drastically. But if it should come to an end, maybe it's ended maybe on Tuesday or Monday, I'm expecting JPY to pick up from here and keep rising up, due to the fact that there's a new Senate president and he's not even happy about rate hikes. Do you understand? So that is just simply what I'm expecting. So for AUD pair, for the AUD, I'm expecting it to keep being bullish due to the risk off. If the risk off should continue, GBP AUD will keep buying. If the risk off should come to an end and the market start focusing more on economic data, GBP AUD should be bearish. So all these things now are going to give us mixed signals. What is my advice for you this week? Be very careful. During times of economic uncertainty, it is best to be careful. Do not try to just jump in any trade you see. Be very, very careful, because the markets will be very volatile. It will be hard to even understand technically what the market is doing. It will be more of fundamentals. That's why I told you all fundamentals is very important. You get my point. So for USD JPY, still the same thing. I'm expecting JPY to keep selling. If the tariff announcement should continue, if the tariff should come to an end, we might see a bullish ride, right? You understand? So that is just simply it. I'm not currently looking at any position in the market, but if I see one, I'll be sending it to my students and to the VIP Signal channel. With that being said, I hope you understood this, and I hope, in case you have any question, make sure to ask me, because in case you don't understand this, I wouldn't know until you ask me your questions. For all these things you're seeing here, for all these economic indicators you're seeing here, it might not really matter, because we are in a risk of sentiment and the government shutdown is still in the air. Do you understand? So for now, we're just focusing on the tariff announcement and the government shutdown. After that, we can now go back to our economic data and monetary policy. So with that being said, I hope you understood everything I said in this video. In case you have any question, make sure to ask me. For the meantime, have a lovely trading week ahead, and profit to you all.